Hey guys, so I just saw Barbenheimer. Yes, that is actually a thing. Apparently, the internet came up with a name for people who go see Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day, like me, which I did while I was sick. So if I sound a bit off today, that's why. So I'll have my Oppenheimer review up later if you want to see that. So, look, I'm just going to admit that the Barbie movie wasn't for me. That's not to say that there wasn't good things about it, so let's talk about the good first. Firstly, it's a visually very dynamic movie. It's fun, it's bright, it always holds your attention. They put so much attention to detail into the sets for this movie, so I do have to give them credit for that. It is a very stylish movie, but unfortunately it seems to be a case of style over substance. So Margot Robbie, a fellow Australian actress, she nailed the role of Barbie. She did an amazing job in this. Ryan Gosling nailed the role of Ken. He was funny. So this movie that I really laughed in were when Ken was on screen. And I found that the rest of the cinema was the same. Any other jokes that weren't Ken related jokes sort of fell flat and nobody laughed. Well, there was one kid who laughed, but she was like 6 years old, so I don't think that counts. But anyway, I think Gosling's comedic timing is so good in this. He really did a good job. So that's basically the good. I'm trying to find something else good to say about it. Look, the supporting cast had a lot of talent. We had Will Ferrell, Michael Cera, just to name a few. I love those guys. Will Ferrell has been in so many good movies, like Elf obviously is one that everybody thinks of. Michael Cera, there's Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, if anybody has actually heard of that movie, because nobody seems to know what I'm talking about when I talk about that movie. But anyway, they're really talented actors, but they just didn't shine in this movie, in these roles, because it just didn't feel like it was meant for them. There were these parts that Will Ferrell's character played this CEO of Mattel, and it just felt really awkward, these corporate parts, like they were disjointed and out of place in this movie, and frankly, they were pretty boring as well. And whenever the corporate guys weren't on screen, nobody was thinking about them. Nobody was thinking, I wonder what's going to happen with that storyline. They could have easily cut that storyline altogether and shaved off a good 10 minutes, which this movie desperately needed. It felt like there was a time in this movie where it felt like it was meant to end, and then it just kept going. So when it comes to the message, it felt about as subtle as getting hit over the head. Honestly, Barbie Land was a matriarchy. All the men in it were just over the top stupid. And look, I love strong lead women when they're done right. But this movie just didn't, it just kept saying it instead of showing it. And I just feel like you don't need to push men down to lift women up. Isn't that what we all want? Equality? And this movie just felt so much like it was saying men are stupid at everything. So there was this one moment like where the Barbies get taken over by the Kens for a while, and they have like a patriarchy of Kens, and the Barbie's in this sort of zombie state. And when she gets out of the zombie state, she goes, for a while there, I was really interested in Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League and seeing the Snyder Cut. And I'm like, okay, so this movie is saying that only men like superhero movies? Like, isn't that the opposite to the message you're trying to send? So one of the sort of lead supporting characters in this has a teenage daughter that I found to be unbearable to watch her. She was just so unlikable and bratty, and she really brought the movie down for me. The movie was very meta. It was trying very hard to be self-aware, but self-aware doesn't always equal smart. And it's just one in a long line of movies that are trying to cash in on name recognition, of having a popular IP to tell their story as a vehicle to tell their message, because let's be honest, they're destroying the idea of Barbie in this movie. Yet it's a movie about Barbie, so why not just create another story with another woman? Because they know that people are going to see a Barbie movie. If this movie had just stuck to the simple message that you don't need to look a certain way to be beautiful, there were Barbies in wheelchairs and all different ethnicities, that would have been a really good message to send to young girls. But instead, they tried to go one step further. Well, more like 100 steps further, and tackle absolutely everything. And it felt really disingenuous, like they didn't really care. They were just going off a social justice sort of checklist instead of just focusing on one thing. And it felt like the movie felt like it was doing something really important and breaking new ground and sending this powerful message that's never been said before by anybody, when in reality, it wasn't. Sound of Freedom is the movie that actually did do that recently, which is a great movie that I highly recommend everybody go see. So, look, the movie ends with Barbie. She cuts Ken loose. She goes off to live in the real world. And at the very end of the movie, she goes and sees the gynecologist because she doesn't have plastic bits anymore. So apparently that is the inspirational message we are ending the movie with. Look, I would give this a 5 out of 10. I think that's being generous. So let me know what you think down below. Please comment, subscribe, like, all of that. Thank you.